Alright guys, we're back again today with a DC Multiverse figure review of the new Dark Knight Returns Armored Batman, a figure I have been so excited about. If you haven't read The Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller, it's a must read. It's a beautiful book, very well done. But without further ado, let's get into this. Okay, so first off, we get a few different pairs of hands. We get a fisted hand and just kind of a relaxed, kind of maybe a gripping pose. But you can see these look really, really good. The sculpt is just phenomenal on these, man. Very good. Colors are very consistent. I'm digging it. Then you can swap out that fist for another kind of gripping, relaxed hand that you can just kind of put at his side. And I personally dig that so much. I love how that looks. And then lastly, we get this trigger finger hand, which is pretty much useless. Does not come with any kind of weapon of any sort, so really makes no sense. I would have much preferred a fisted hand, but despite that, it still has a pretty good sculpt and it's good looking, I guess. And then of course we get a trading card that has the same exact photo we saw on the back. If you want to read the read-up, there it is. It doesn't have a whole lot of details on him, just his real name is Bruce Wayne, etc., etc., etc. And then, of course, we get a cool McFarlane stand. So I would say this is a really strong figure from McFarlane. Right off the bat, the most important aspect of this figure, in my opinion, is the fact that we're getting interchangeable hands. Finally. For quite a while, we're getting just useless hands, like just trigger finger hands, and I get tired of seeing that. And for pretty much every review I have, I always say, like, hey, interchangeable hands. They must be listening because we're getting some good hands. This makes the purchase, in my opinion, so much more worth it because it's going to look so much better in toy photography on my shelf in general. Just more believable and cool looking. The other thing about this figure I think is just phenomenal is this cape. Usually I'm not huge on like sculpted capes, even if it's kind of a soft plastic, but the texturing all throughout this is just crazy good, dude. It almost looks wet too. I'm just blown away by this. Probably the best cape I've seen on a DC Multiverse figure, and I mean, even relative to Marvel Legends, I think this is the best cape I have seen between the two. I'm very, very happy about that. Overall, the figure has really nice texturing throughout. I love how the armor looks like it was literally put on like over his costume. You can see the texturing all throughout and kind of wrinkles in there, and some really nice sculpt work. Like there's a hidden joint in there. It's kind of stiff, but it's very well hidden. It fits in with the rest. Like it's just seamless to me. It fits in so well with the rest of the arm. I'm very, very happy with it. Now the actual armor just looks like a crazy cool shell. It looks absolutely phenomenal. The head sculpt is also very, very nicely done. Very nice line work all throughout. I think it would have been cool if we got some blue eyes, but I'm not sure that would have been totally comic accurate. Maybe if they do a Batman v Superman, we'll get another one like this. That'll look really good. But the head sculpt is very nicely done. The skin tone looks good. The colors are all consistent throughout. The gray almost has like a purplish hue to it, in my opinion. Literally my only complaint with this figure is the legs are a little bit skinny under the armor, especially in the knees. They could have been a bit bulkier, because if you've read the story, you know that this Batman is bulky and just jacked as shit. It's crazy. So that's really my only complaint. Otherwise, again, the texturing, the damaged armor, it all looks really, really good. I love the bolts, the line work, the belt is very nicely done as well. And the legs, they kind of keep it consistently going with that damaged, kind of battle-worn look. The other thing I like too is you do have a soft plastic piece here, and you kind of can rotate it. And again, it's a hidden joint. Like, it's not super visible. So it really almost comes across, like, depending on how you pose him, like a statue. Now, if they had the pinless tech, man, that would really just up their game by a little bit. It would make a huge difference, in my opinion. I would love to see that. But overall, what you see is what you get. I'm very, very pleased with this. The gunmetal looks good. The paint work is good. And it's a great figure in general. Only thing, underneath here, you can see they actually painted that gunmetal, but it's pretty hidden, so it's not a big deal to me. But overall, I think this guy's great. Underneath the cape on the back, you can see they still kept things consistent all throughout this figure. It almost looks like there could be a piece of articulation there, but there's not. I'm kind of glad. I do think this is really good, though. However, if you do, actually, when you look at it, it looks like this actual piece up here, this shell, is a completely different piece and actually put over another piece here. You can see when I rotate this, the lines kind of move over each other and under each other. So it's definitely kind of an interesting design, but for the most part, it looks pretty dope. The neck also has that nice paint. No real sculpt work there. Anyways, I'm pretty pleased with this. Let's take a look at the articulation. One more thing I want to mention, if you look at the bottom here, they almost put like a light silver over this dark. Would have been cool if we saw that more throughout the figure, but I love the fact that they actually sculpted the bottom of these boots. Normally I'd be like, ooh, will he have a tough time standing? But the fact that we have a stand doesn't really matter. That looks very, very good. So for Batman's articulation, his head goes up about that far, goes down about that far, has a nice little pivot in there, can obviously rotate all the way around. The arms kind of have a nice pivot as well, forward and back, because they have that like butterfly joint in there. Very nice. There is no rotation up at the bicep, but there is a rotation at the elbow that's quite stiff. The arms do pop off. That's a bummer. I'm really pleased with this figure overall, but I do think it would serve McFarlane well to take notes from the Marvel Legends team and the Black Series with these shoulder pads. That is just kind of unfortunate. But this arm doesn't have such a issue, so it goes up pretty far. There we go. I don't want to mess with that anymore. But they go up about that far. I'd be cautious, however, going up any further than that. Otherwise, you might run into problems. They are single jointed elbows, kind of a bummer, but I can see why they did it. So bulky with the bulky gauntlets be kind of difficult to do. No rotation below that, just a rotation at the wrist. Of course, they have that ball joint that's very common with McFarlane toys, but you don't get a whole ton of motion out of it just because of the bulkiness of this dude. But you get little differences in there that can make a big difference. The actual abdomen goes back about that far, goes forward about that far. If you put the legs into it, you can get them to go forward more, obviously, but this is such a big, hard shell, it's kind of hard to get them to bend forward, which is fine in my opinion. It makes sense. There is kind of a pivot in there, of course, which allows for really organic looking movement. Nice rotation, obviously a soft torso piece, which is, I love that. Again, McFarlane going for that seamless design to almost imitate a statue, but not quite a statue. The legs go forward about that far, go back quite a bit. There is a bit of a thigh rotation in there, nothing too crazy. But again, I don't really have an issue with that, especially because they have the hidden articulation down here at the shin or the calf. Double jointed knees. The legs go out about that far as well. Not too crazy far because of this bulky armor, which again is fine. And again, the rotation there, it's a little stiff. This will move on its own too, so be leery with that and make sure that it's all lined up okay. The hinge has that ball joint again, which is also nicely hidden, so I'm fine with that. And there is a bit of an ankle pivot in there as well, and of course a rotation because of that ball joint, and then hinged toes. So that's very nice. Overall, I think this articulation scheme looks pretty good. Sometimes I'm not a huge fan of the ball joints, but other times, man, they just work really well in my opinion. And this is definitely one of those times when they're hidden so nicely, like you get nice motion from them and a lot of variety, so you can get vertical and horizontal movement. Without the stand, I'll say too, this guy isn't the easiest to stand. Kind of have some issues there just because he doesn't have like flat feet. He has those spiky feet, and the cape isn't quite long enough However, if you balance him just right, eventually you will find the sweet spot and get this dude to stand up on your own. But if you're doing toy photography and stuff, and I mean, depending on the terrain you have him on, or if it's flat, you shouldn't have too difficult of a time. He's definitely not terribly difficult to keep standing. So here he is next to your average 6-inch action figure from Hasbro. Obviously, he doesn't scale well. Then here he is next to the Arkham Knight Batman and the Flashpoint Batman, and I would say he scales pretty well with both of them. It looks like you could easily throw Thomas Wayne in this armor and he'd look exactly the same, and vice versa with the Arkham Knight Batman. And I mean, just in general, they look good together. And then just for fun, here he is next to the Marvel Select Taskmaster, a figure, and I think this might be a Disney Store exclusive. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I did get him at a Disney Store at the Mall of America up in the Twin Cities, Minnesota. And this figure, if you don't have him, I highly recommend. This is my favorite Taskmaster figure I've ever owned. But I'd say these two scale together very well. If you want to do some photography between the two of them, it would work out really cool. Then here he is next to the new Dr. Fate. This is the Platinum Edition Dr. Fate. I did take him out of the box. Crucify me, I don't give a shit. But I think he looks really good next to the new Batman. I'm very pleased with both of these figures. This is a great figure, kind of whack ball joints, but they look good together. And then here he is next to Admiral Ackbar. Then here he is holding what I imagine to be a deceased Admiral Ackbar. Okay, so I don't think this guy leaves a whole lot to be desired, honestly. I think he really meets the bar. I think he's a fantastic Dark Knight Returns Batman with the whole armor getup, and he makes me want more Dark Knight Returns characters. Gary Kelly, Superman, Mutant Leader, maybe a Harvey Dent, I don't know. But I think this is a beautiful piece. Oh God, how did I mention the Joker? And a Joker too. But I think he's a beautiful piece, and I'm very pleased with him. I'd say his biggest shortcoming is his skinny knees. That is it. He's awesome. Looks good on the shelf. I give him like a solid 9.5 out of 10. Definitely one of my favorite DC Multiverse figures for sure. So anyways, guys, thank you for watching this review. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to like the video and subscribe. Comment, let me know if you own this figure, if you've seen him pop up. I just saw one at Walmart. He was $17. What a beautiful price point. But thank you for watching, guys. Stay happy, stay healthy, get vaccinated, and if you haven't seen Shang-Chi yet, go see it safely. Peace.